All right. So,
Right?
some of
I
us
like it.
some of us are back from Atlanta Pet Fair. Okay. So we're gonna do like this three-part thing. And part one is we're gonna talk about actually opening up a pet grooming business, whether that's brick and mortar or mobile grooming. I mean, there's lots of things that are exactly the same, and there's a couple of differences between the two or three, or however you want to do it. Okay. So, first thing I'm gonna say is here I was at the Atlanta Pet Fair with the Pet Edge booth, loaded up with catalogs with my picture on the cover, and no one asked me to autograph it.
I
That's
totally would
rude.
have.
Yeah, yeah,
I should have brought mine from home and done that.
yes.
We'll take care of that at Tacoma.
I did
Okay.
not get a Pet Edge catalog. Everybody else got one.
I didn't get one.
I didn't
All
get one.
right. If Pet Edge is at Instagram, which I believe is the next show, they'll have them there.
I'm sure they'll be there.
Okay, so you know what? Let me just get over that. Okay. And move on to today's topic, which is we're going to start off with just like I said, just opening up a pet business. So there's a couple of things. Here's the thing that before you look at places to rent or vehicles to buy, I am going to tell you the very first thing you need to do is do a business plan.
Yeah.
Fact.
Okay. Don't skip that step. All right. Yes. Especially if you don't know how to do one, it can be a little daunting, but I'm going to tell you go to sba.gov, small business administration.gov. The site is loaded with templates, tutorials, all sorts of things. They even have a plug and play business plan.
That's where I did home.
There is also other services which you may have to pay for. But again, there's a lot of plug and play options out there. Okay.
Yep.
I didn't do it, and I suffered.
Yeah.
Just throwing that out there. I was the one who did not do it.
I got a score advisor. So when I decided I was opening up my own business, I mean, I was a grooming manager, so I had a little bit of an idea of how things work, but not all of it. Okay. And because I promptly freaked out my husband that I was quitting a good paying job, my daughter was accepted to an Ivy League school to start my own business. I did. I went through the score advisor, we sat down, we talked. It was probably one of the best things I've ever done. And I contributed that a lot to my success. The fact that I had somebody who guided me along the way.
What Mary is saying is don't rage start a business
Yeah.
Correct.
on on a spur of the moment decision. But if you do, after you rage start it, take 5 minutes, go, oh, what have I done?
Yes, because Chris, it was rage started. Okay.
Yes.
But fortunately for me, it was going to be several months before I actually got the van. Gave me a time to take that deep breath and, get some education.
I rage started my business as well. It was right after this injury. And I was like, okay. And that was when I decided in that moment, oh, I'm so done. I'm just opening my own salon. And that day, I took my savings and just started buying grooming equipment. And within 2 months, I had everything I needed to open a salon. And then that was the December. And then I was like, okay, so December will pay for first, last, and security on a salon. And by January 5th, because I was looking in January, the first week of January. I found one. The first one I looked at, he got back to me on January 5th, and it was a done deal. But I did, in the meantime, all of those things. I talked to a score advisor, and I did a business plan. But see, I kind of had an ace in the hole because I had taken Mary's course, and I save all of those handouts and whatnot. I have a filing cabinet full of them from every trade show I've been to, and they're organized by, I had them organized by year. Now they're organized by topic. And I went through and I'm like, business, give me sheet the thing. And it literally had a template there, and it said, talk to somebody from SCORE, talk to the SBA, start a business plan. And I'm like, Josh, check marks.
See,
Yeah.
And
my journey was not necessarily that. I knew that I needed to get out of my toxic environment, but I tolerated it really, really well. And I just dealt with it. And finally, actually, it was my husband who got fed up, and he is like, you're quitting. And he's the one who found the place and did all that stuff and did the build out, and then just pretty much said, here's a business. Well, he had a full-time job. So he had a lot of faith in me to figure out that I could wing it, I guess. And I did. And, you know, this is where we're at. But yeah, mine wasn't rage necessarily, but it was definitely 13 years of a toxic environment that was built up. And I'm like, yeah, it's time. So, yeah.
And what something Angie said was super important, that she had all of that business stuff and she had taken business classes before it was really a twinkle in her eye to start a business. And back when I worked for corporate, and I still hear it all the time, I hear people, oh, when I open my shop, it's going to be this. And when I open my shop, it's going to be this. And and there's two very important things that people don't realize. And one is opening a business and opening your own business. Just because you're the boss doesn't mean that every day you're going to spring out of bed and it will be magic and roses and it's like Snow White. The birds will come and bring you your grooming shears because it's your shop now. Everything is perfect and wonderful.
You get to make your own hours. You get 100%.
Yeah,
You get all,
100%.
Yeah.
Oh, those people ripping me off, keeping 50% of what I make, and it's going to be different. And oh, it's going to be different, all right.
Yeah. I've been in business for a long time and weirdly never made 100%.
I know, right? We must be doing something wrong.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Because-
The
Yeah.
next decision is, do you want to shop brick and mortar or do you want to be some form of mobile? Okay. And there is a big difference between the two. And mobile, I'm also including house call. Okay. Mobile's not for everybody. Okay.
Yeah, no.
Mm-mm.
All right. So do a ride along. There's a couple big players out there as far as vans. And there's a couple of new players that I saw at Atlanta. Ride in those vehicles.
Yeah.
Okay. Because they are radically different. And they're radically different in their maintenance. So take the time and do your homework over which one you want. And if you're brick and mortar, there's different routes you can go as well. The reason I went the mobile route because the van happened to be in my face while I was in a rage. That would have been one.
She
But-
rage spent $100K.
Yeah. But I didn't want to. This will be the subject of upcoming, live stream. But I didn't want employees. Okay, I worked in corporate, and you know what? They just hire bodies. Okay, and I was not only doing my dogs, but I was doing the dogs of the groomer who decided they were not coming back to work, at least not today, maybe not tomorrow either. Who knew? That got old, and it got old really fast. And my experience on a corporate level was that I was not going to be able to find enough groomers to make a shop work. So mobile it was for me. All right. Then after you decide which direction you want to go, You want to take yourself over to the economic development office in your town or county or whichever it is. If the town is really small, you may not have one, and it might be on a county level, but their job is to help you get your business going. Okay. They'll help you navigate zoning and department of whatever departments regulate grooming in your state. That's their job. Their job is to help you. Okay. Whereas it seems the other department's job is to make your life miserable.
Yeah, it's actually to actively hinder you.
Yes. So,
I did also notice when I was opening my salon, having taken the AKC Safe course, weirdly, had so much information on starting a salon and how to do it legally. Like, how do you get insurance and how do you do, and it was great. So I had all of these little papers that I'd collected over the years, and I was like, oh, okay, insurance check. So that's another great course that if you haven't taken it, definitely take it.
okay. Also, let's talk about insurance real quick. Cheaper is not better. What happened to Denise?
I
She
don't
got
know.
cold, Mary. You drove her away. She got cold and said, "The hell with this." No, that's not what happened. I'm sure she'll
Hey,
be back.
Mindy, I'm bummed I missed you too,
Yeah.
but the Atlanta Pet Fair, they keep us busy. We had 3 5-hour pet first aid classes. And by the time we finish up with those classes, I have had very little functioning brain cells. So I'm just going to generally right here. If anyone thinks I was rude to them, I was not. Okay.
Mary doesn't hate you because she was brusque at Atlanta. She was tired, and there's like a 75% chance she was hangry.
Probably. All right. Because we don't eat
Yeah.
well. I'm not a big breakfast person. So I have a small breakfast, but then I don't get lunch. And then my options, and let's just face it, some of the options on site for Atlanta Pet Fair, people. It's Atlanta Pet Fair. Okay.
groomed.
No, Atlanta Pet Fair.
I'm just trying to be contrary.
All right. Is not necessarily great options. I think one day my lunch was 2 Dunkin' Donuts. So anyway,
Last
Oh.
year, my lunch consisted of a bag of Smart Food popcorn, one of the teeny weeny ones.
okay. Denise is here in spirit. Her internet went out, but she's here.
Perhaps another topic for another day, since you mentioned Dunkin' Donuts, is actually being honest in what you provide. Because did you hear about that, Mary?
No, but what did I miss?
There
I
is
missed a lot, by the way, but go ahead.
there was a bakery in Long Island that a vegan cafe was ordering donuts from, that they were labeled as vegan and gluten-free, and they were straight out repackaging Dunkin' Donuts.
Oh, really?
I'm like,
Dude.
shit, you're not like at one point, these people got serious. They took it, they had it analyzed for gluten, they had it analyzed for this. They straight out, the Dunkin' Donuts that have the sprinkles on them that look like the little DDs.
Right.
They legit handed him one of those donuts. I'm like, oh no, I totally baked this with the little DD sprinkles on it and everything. It's vegan and gluten free. And they're like,
Okay. Now here's the deal. If I'm eating donuts, I know precisely the nutritional value I am getting. Yeah, that'd be 0. But what the hell? It got me
I-
through the rest of the day till dinner.
actually did well this year because I had leftovers every night like I planned, and I had leftovers, and the night I didn't have leftovers, before I left I packed Ziploc bags with relatively healthy munchies in it. And I'm like, this can do for lunch if I don't get to have it. And it was like, the veggie chips, the dehydrated vegetables and wheat thins and some dried pineapple. And it was quite tasty.
Okay, cool. One of these days that'll make my checklist. Bring snacks, but
I'm very snack motivated.
Well, I do bring snacks. However, I never have the time to actually eat them.
All right, we are
always bring snacks.
digressing just
Okay,
a bit,
just a little digression.
bit off topic. So, getting back to topic about starting your business. Okay, there are networking groups. Okay, now I'm just going to say, Chamber of Commerce's are either the most best thing, or or you're wasting your money. There doesn't seem to be a lot of in between Chamber of Commerce's. They're either great or they're just hitting you up for money and not providing anything. Okay. So, but I would say at least the first year, okay, try one, because you won't know until you sit down in some meetings with small business owners. They tend to be small business owners, not the CEOs of the local big companies. So you probably won't find who's ever in charge of the Pepsi bottling plant in there, but you'll find other small businesses.
And that in itself, that networking, because I did that, and there were some electricians, some plumbers, a couple roofers, some hairstylists, things like this. And because of the meetings, you get to know each other. And they were some of my best referrals. And some of them didn't even have a pet because they worked too much.
Yeah,
they were
they didn't,
single
but they
guys.
knew you and they knew what you were like. See, Mary, it wasn't that big a digression because you've got to be honest in what you provide. And when you build those relationships with other professionals, they know your character.
I think I've got to always hand it to Chris.
She does tie that up so neatly.
Yeah.
Even if it is a huge pile of
I make it come back. I make it come back around somehow.
Figure out how to make it come back to. We weren't digressing. This was really on topic.
This was my whole point the whole time.
That was sometimes it is.
I give it 1 out of 5. I don't miss an episode. You know this.
Like tomorrow's at Angie, the episode that airs tomorrow of the Traveling Groomers podcast. It starts like we start off going off to, no, it's not. It's on purpose, sort of.
Okay.
It's not, I just made it work real well.
That's usually what happens.
Okay.
Yeah. Anywho, okay. Other groomers in the area, having a network of other grooming business owners is great too. And this is my philosophy. People will have something to offer or they will have nothing to offer. Okay. And those that have something to offer will welcome you with open arms and say, hey, let's chit chat and talk. And the ones who do not, okay, who view you as strictly competition, don't waste your time. Find those who want to work with you to make the overall industry better. This is Pooh. Pooh has been really, what's the matter, Pooh?
You left him for days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You did.
Obviously, that's what's wrong.
Yeah. And the second I walked in, he was like, who's that man over here?
Yeah.
The one that's been making me, he's like, he made me sit with him. He made me. I had no choice. I had to sit with him.
Yeah. I'm sure he got all the affection and all the cuddles and all the snuggles and anything he wanted. But the second you get home, he's like, I don't even know you. Get away from me. I have her. I need not you. Go away. Peon.
Okay. Okay.
And then
So,
he pees on him.
and then he pees on him. Networking, spending time in your local government office, be aware of what your governmental responsibilities are.
Yeah.
Okay. Because ignorance of the law is not an excuse.
Especially when it comes to signage. That's a huge
Oh,
one. Um, we that was one thing I did not research at all before starting the business was the signage. And I just figured, yeah, just order a sign and it should be fine, right? Oh no, 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 no. Silly, silly. It had to be approved by a board. And there was a vote. And why exactly I would have the sign. And is it appropriate for the district that it was going to be in? And it was like this big, huge thing. And oh, by the way, to get them to vote on it, you have to pay. And if
Uh-huh.
they deny it, you lose your money. And it has to be, they want like an actual, what is it going to be made out of? How big is it going to be? How thick is it going to be? What are the materials? What is the environmental impact? Like, I'm like, it's a sign.
And where in the building is your business located, and are you even allowed to have a sign? There is a local meadery by me where they make their own meat and they sell it. They have a tiny bar area. It's practically a speakeasy because it's located in the back of a strip mall, but they're not allowed to have a sign up front. Like, you have to know where you're going and have you ever driven around behind a strip mall?
Mhm.
A little shady looking.
Oh no, it's a lot of shady looking. It's a lot of
Depending.
shady
It's
looking.
a, yeah. Even the nicest ones, in the nicest areas, you go behind the strip mall in the bougiest. I guarantee you go out in Beverly Hills. There's a little area. You go behind where the loading dock is. You're going to be like,
It's sketchy back here.
yeah. I was trying to bypass a whole lot of traffic, my local Costco. So I figured I would just drive around behind the building.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mm.
It is nothing like the front of the building.
Mm-mm.
I drive behind my Costco all the time to get to the gas, so I'm fully aware. But so when you're choosing a brick and mortar, don't just go, "Oh, this is a cheap rent that I can approve." Look at, will I even be allowed to have that sign? Is it visible from the street? Because you may think, "Oh, it's access is behind the strip mall. It's going to be less traffic, safer for the dogs." Which, yeah, but
But
there's no traffic, if people don't see that you're there. And once again, you could be in the nicest neighborhoods. And that place in the meadery, it's in a fine neighborhood. It's not actively sketchy behind that strip mall, but it just looks that way because it's behind a mall. And if people aren't going to be comfortable going to your salon, you're going to have some issues.
also another thing that we had to deal with signage was putting signs in the window. So of course we have my salon. We have a lot of certifications. So I have laminated, master blah 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 here, and this kind of thing. Those were posted on the window with the PGC and all the other stuff. And they let me know that, well, you can only have so much percent signage on your windows. And I was like, great, because there's 4 other giant windows. So we are less than 25% because this doesn't fully cover all the window. So we have no problem. And they're like, oh, okay. And that took care of that. That is, that is a factor, is how much covering you are doing in the windows by signage in some areas. So take that into account.
Okay.
Yep.
So again, spending some time, particularly in the zoning office, because I will say zoning is like the queen bee. All right. They're the lord of the manor. and everything goes through zoning first before it's even parceled out to the rest.
Yep. And there are certain areas in certain places where you cannot have a pet business. So, like in the town where I am in, I could not rent a space in the historic district. Pet places are not allowed there. You cannot have that.
Hmm.
For whatever reason. I don't know. I didn't make the rules. I just have to follow them. But I could not put a grooming salon there when there was an open spot there to do so, even though it's a strip mall, but it's considered the historic district. So, not an option.
All right. So then there's your tax obligations. You may have to collect sales tax. Okay. Um, your Department of Revenue will have that answer for you. Okay. Um, and then you have to make all the decisions. Do I want to be a sole proprietor? Do I want to be an LLC? Do I want to be an S Corp, a C Corp, or whatever? Those are questions you sit down with a real life business accountant. Okay. And you talk to them about what is the best option for you. And for my CPA, he only does my end of years. I keep my books throughout the year, but he does my books at the end of the year, and then he tells me what my estimated quarterly taxes are for both federal and state. And then I get a little coupon book and like, pay this amount. Now, this is the reason for doing quarterly tax payments. If you don't, there's like a little bit of fudging room, meaning that if he's off by, I don't know, $1,000, it's no biggie. All right. If he's off by quite a bit, not only did I underpay my quarterlies, whatever the percentage is, I don't know what it is. Okay. They tack on interest and penalties because I didn't pay enough throughout the year. And my tax bill at the end of the year now includes a little more than I should have paid because it has some interest and penalties.
Yeah. And that goes for state as well as
Yep.
federal.
Yep.
And I have a bookkeeper and an accountant. And so I take the USB from the bookkeeper about 2 weeks before the quarterly taxes are due. I bring it to the accountant. I give it to him and go, meh. And he says, okay, do this. And then because it seems to fluctuate. We did the estimated payments the first couple of years, and I'm like, this is not working out. I keep getting hammered. And I still owed like a ton of money at the end of the year. I'm like, I made the payments you said. So after that, we started doing the quarterly, okay, give this, give this. And now it's like streamlined, no issues, no problems. He's got it down to like $100.
All right. So, and one of the recommendations I'm also going to make is have a separate tax account. Do not lump all your money into one account. Your tax money that you're putting aside for taxes every month, that needs to be in its own separate account.
Oh, yeah. I actually have 8 different bank accounts for my salon. 8. And they're all different. And some of them are savings accounts, like the education is a savings account. Tax is a savings account. And I just transfer it over to checking when I have to send out the ungodly amount of money. But so you'll have checking and you'll have savings. And then payroll, of course, is checking. But they're different. And then you have the account. And that, yeah. And in that account, you should have 6 months of bills, which I did when COVID hit. And I had no issues because I was like, all right, we're shut down for 2 months. Okay. Even though I had no income coming in, I had money to pay the rent, the electric, even though it wasn't much, but it was something. Keep the heat on there. pay the oil and all that. Everything got paid, and there was nary a hiccup. And then right back in after we reopened, because I still had another 4 months. And if something happens, like something happens to your tub, or a dog breaks your table, or all the other things, or your computer goes one day, and which has happened to us at the salon, the printer died, various things are going to die, and you're going to need one like tomorrow. So you can just literally go on Amazon and go, I need a new computer. Yeah, that one's good. Click, delivered it tomorrow. And they will. It's like, okay, I need another table. I need a rush order on that. Call your distributor, get that table, and they'll have it to you in like 2 days.
Okay. And I just want to finish up with insurance. I just really want to hammer this. You're a business, you need to have business insurance. And the thing is, with business insurance, especially if you're mobile, okay, your vehicle insurance and the business insurance, if you separate those policies out with two different companies because it's cheaper that way, you may only have business insurance parked in your own driveway. Keep that in mind. You need to have a conversation with your not the insurance agent, okay, with the insurance specialist, and have a specific conversation with, under what circumstances am I not covered? Okay. Um, yeah, that was one of the first insurance mistakes I made. Fortunately, it wasn't a problem because I caught it fairly quickly because I was saving a couple of bucks farming out my insurance. And I'm like, yeah, because if I would have had an accident, I would have not have had business insurance. And the other thing with insurance is the pet Bailey. All right.
Yes.
Just because you have $10,000 worth of pet Bailey, doesn't mean it's 10,000 in one shot. All right. It might be up to 10 instances for up to 1,000 a piece.
So read all that stuff they make you sign, all the boring stuff.
Yeah, let me tell you something. My
Super
eyes will
important.
glaze over after page 5, and I'm like, I can't read this. Call the insurance specialist at the insurance company. What am I not covered for? What are you going to deny a claim? Understand, an insurance adjuster's job is not really to write you a check. It's to find a reason
Not write you a check.
to deny your claim. They will get their bonuses, all right, at the end of the year, are really dependent on how many claims they deny.
Yeah. Yeah. Animal Bailey is absolutely crucial. And you want to make sure. So there was a post in Programmer Network. Someone had Animal Bailey, but they were only covered up to $1,000. Well, a dog just happened to jump out of the tub. I don't know the circumstances. They didn't go into it, so who knows? Dog jumped out of the tub, broke both its front legs. That was a $10,000 bill. So, and she did not have enough coverage because it was $1,000 per incident. She owed like $9,000. So my Animal Bailey, I actually keep $100,000 Animal Bailey because I think it's $20,000 per incident. And yes, I pay more for that.
Yeah.
But should something happen, and to date, haven't needed it. However, get me through the end of the month. You don't know.
I have, and I know somebody's like, oh, that's a lot of money to maybe never need. I've had some bad luck with cars, and I've had one car totaled in a flood, one car totaled in a fender bender that I had for like a week, maybe 2. I mean, it was a used car, but still, I got rear-ended and it poof. I mean, I've had cars totaled in freak ways. You need that. I had a car totaled. Thank God I had gap insurance. Thank God it was required in my state because I was young and had no clue. But I had a car totaled before I finished paying it off. That was the one that got flooded out. Mhm.
Ouch.
Yeah, it drowned. Yeah.
Mandy, okay.
All right, I have not had that kind of luck. That's
Mandy rear-ended a cop when she first got her license.
God bless you.
Oh, I can just imagine how that exchange went down.
God bless you. I'm sure that was fun.
Oh, I'm sure that was a lovely day. She'll be very, very, very old someday and go, I remember when, and I remember it like it was yesterday.
Remember when I did? Yeah, that was a thing that happened.
Yep.
All right, so make sure you know what your policies are, okay? And what is your policies for insurance for like emergencies and disasters? Because it's not an assumption, particularly if it's an issue in your area. Like here, where I'm at, the issues are going to be earth movement, earthquakes and landslides, a flood, tsunami. And if I do not have those specific policies, they will not cover anything should that happen because of it.
Also, when for salon, there is something called a terrorist policy. And I don't know if I just got smacked on YouTube, but it is an add on to your policy. And when I was like, I don't need that. I literally in the middle of nowhere. Turns out, no, in fact, I do. Because it implies that it's just for this bazillion to one kind of
Mhm.
thing. No, it's actually like really, really common sort of things that would cover like vandalism.
And wouldn't that also cover, like, God forbid, an active, oh, I don't want to ding us on YouTube, an active pew pew er?
Yeah, yes. Yeah. So there it's a thing. So look very closely. Every insurance company is different, but when that policy does come up, don't just go, "Psha," because that's what I did. And I had left it up front, and my assistant Angie's like, "Oh, I wouldn't think that would be covered under the terrorist policy because it's her job to file
You
them."
know, listen, if I get a message from YouTube, I'm going to yell at you. Okay. And also making sure if you add things or you make improvements, that you include that in your policy. Like, so the greenhouse I have out here, I took pictures of the foundation. I took pictures of it. I went over to my insurance agent saying, hey, we've got this thing in. It's an additional structure. It added $10 to my insurance over the course of the year. But now it's covered.
Yeah, but
And should something happen, a storm or
Yeah.
whatever, you don't know. I mean, life is weird.
and
Weird
it
stuff happens.
and if you're flood zoned, pro tip, if you're in a flood zone, it's difficult to get flood insurance. But if you're flood zone adjacent,
Yes.
it's cheaper. And if a freak something happens, you will be covered.
Yeah.
When
I'm
the
flood zone adjacent, meaning the tsunami line ends literally 20 feet in front of my property line.
So get that extra flood insurance because our homeowners insurance that my father-in-law bought, so we didn't know exactly what was on there. The insurance adjuster came over and looked at the house under Ida and went, "Oh yeah, this is flood damage. You're not covered for that." He didn't actually run laughing out of the
You may
house,
as well have.
but it kind of felt like that's what my memory says happened. He was actually quite nice. He was quite nice, but my memory has him cackling, going, "We're covering nothing." That's just kind of how I remember it in my head.
as
that's
you
what
were
it
And
is.
actually,
tell you, then
and
I
during the company party, when they were talking about it, that's exactly how he portrayed it.
I'm sure it is. He was like, they thought they were getting money. I was chatting with him all nice, got their hopes up and shit. Woo! Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so
Anywho,
anywho, we'll be back in 2 weeks. We still have Angie's weird animal fact,
oh,
but
yes.
there is a part 2 and a part 3. So Angie, what's next week?
Part 2 is all right. So growing your salon. When do you start taking on employees? Should you start taking on employees? And don't ask a business owner that on a bad day because they'll just tell you, no, don't do it.
that's
But
that's the real reason Denise is
she
into that
was.
crap out.
She's like, I'm out. So that's next week. And then the week after that is okay. So now you have employees. Do you open a second salon? How do you open a second salon? How do you split your time on that? What do you do? Do you need a manager? Who do you
Yes.
get? How do you trust? All that sort of stuff.
All right, Candace has got a question.
And I'm going to say Angie said at least 6 months.
Yeah, you want your ideal. Okay, so Candace asked, I logged in a little late. Ignore if already discussed, but how much startup reserves do you recommend for that first year or so? You are going to every single month put aside money until you hit 6 months of your full bills. And then you're going to put that in a savings account that is completely separate from any other account. And mine is actually named Oh Crap. And like you can name them. And every time I go to the bank, they always say, I love your account names. They're so funny. My education one is I learned something. And so in the Oh Crap account, there is 6 months of bills because that's just the ideal. If something goes wrong and it has gone wrong for more than 6 months, at that point you should have adjusted and made a turn left to go towards something
Yeah.
else.
Yeah, at 4 months you're reevaluating it. Maybe
Yeah.
between 3 and 4 months you're like maybe
Yeah,
All right,
it's time to
so
get my money. Last month rent already paid, so then I can roll this into a first, last, and security for somewhere else because something has gone sideways.
all right, and just to double back, Candace, this is why it's so important to do a business plan. All right, so that you can decide on what your accounts are going to be and how much money should go into it, and at what point do you want those accounts to be full. Okay, so there's the oh crap fund, there's your tax money that goes into one,
Yep.
your retirement, okay, vacation time would be a fourth one, education fund, okay, and they should be, and again, a lot of these, what needs, the amount that needs to go into them, you need to talk to like a financial advisor for a retirement fund, not a bunch of groomers, by the way. Okay.
unless it's River.
Well,
If,
yeah, that's an
if
exception.
it's River Lee, then that's totally different.
Yeah, that is different. But for the most part, and know how to make it work with what you're going to be making.
Yeah.
And like, all right, so Daria said, how long does it take to turn a profit before going, oh crap, this isn't working? Yet that you need to take a hard left and see this something needs to radically change. So for me, I was very, very lucky. But I know I had a friend who opened a salon and things were not going well. She was way undercharging. And I had told her that from the beginning. And so for her, she went 6 months before she looked up and went, hey, maybe you're right. I can't pay any of my bills. You waited till now where you're 2 months in arrears to go, hey, something's wrong. But yeah, she did. And so pretty much if you're not turning a profit within the 6 months, within the first 6 months, you need to take a hard look at your business and see what do I need to do differently.
personally, just my Taurus level of comfort, if you're not seeing it start to go in the direction you want, or between 3 and 4 months.
It should be going like this.
It should be going like, if it's not going like that,
Something's wrong. Something's horribly wrong.
Start at the 3-month and go, am I charging too little? Am I not getting word of mouth? Am I not marketing? Am I not, like, before you are buried at the 6 months? Because if you wait till the absolute, 5-6 month mark to go, ooh, I need to make a turn, now you're out of money.
Yeah.
And you got a problem.
So, and I will say, because I started my business in 2002 and kind of predated, financial bookkeeping software and all of that, and it was done by paper. I don't have my book here. It's in the other room. But I attempted to try to automate it and use these bookkeeping software that was available at that time. Okay, which was really crappy. It was basically glorified spreadsheets.
Yeah.
Right? And I said, to this day, I hate Excel files. If you send me an Excel file, I'm just going to delete it without even looking at it. So don't send me an Excel file for anything. But anyway.
They were the bane of my existence.
So I started, where did Chris go? So I started doing it by paper. Okay. I knew what my expenses were. I knew how much money was coming in. So I could tell you at any given point whether or not I was in the black or in the red. And even here to this day, I could tell you right now in my books, am I comparable to last year? All right.
Yep.
Am I making the amount of money that I should be making in my business? Are my expenses in and around the same or less? Okay. So yeah, it is keeping an eagle eye on your finances. And I'll agree with the whole 3-month mark. If you're not growing, then you need to reevaluate. And here's the thing too. All right. We aren't all born knowing how to do things. Coaching is a wonderful tool that I think is underutilized in our industry. Get a coach to help you. Okay. You can hire somebody to take a look at how you're doing things and where you can improve. So if things aren't working, you know what? Before you throw the towel in, maybe get a coach, right? Get recommendations before you hire a coach, somebody that's maybe, somebody's used. Get recommendations, all right?
And it's okay to have a chat with them beforehand just to see if you guys are going to vibe.
Yeah.
Because if you commit to spending money on a coach and you can't stand each other, you're not going to get any value out of that.
Back when I was doing business coaching, I no longer do business coaching, just saying it right now. I no longer do business coaching. But when I was doing business coaching, I would be able to tell within a 5-minute conversation on whether or not we were a good fit or I was recommending somebody else to do it. Okay. Don't be afraid to have a conversation with somebody first and make sure that you're both on the same page and that you work well together.
Yeah. That's important.
Okay. So listen, we're almost going on an hour here.
I know. And it's because you had snacks, Mary.
No, because I have my dinner right here. So I'm like,
so you're not hangry.
So yeah, I'm not like hangry. Okay.
Angie, listen. Do you hear it?
Sounds like nothing.
I have scissors right up against the mic.
I'm jealous. She got the new Diamond Dust from Evolution Shears, and I don't have a pair, and I am jealous. And now she's just rubbing it in.
I'm just rubbing it in because I swear I wasn't going to use it today because I was just going to use it on my dog. And I just had a couple things to snip on the Afghan hound. And I'm telling you, it cuts the hair, but it doesn't actually cut the hair. The hair sees the shears coming and goes, ah, and just
I have these really nice kitchen shears here. that make almost no noise.
All right, ladies. It is time.
That's what happens when we run late.
Yeah.
Now it is time for Angie's weird animal facts.
Oh yeah. The weird animal fact. Yeah,
Hold
thanks.
on. Come on.
Angie's Weekly Weird Fact.
Honeybees fly at 25 miles an hour. Worker bees select a new queen when the old queen passes. They give royal jelly to a larva to become the queen bee. An artificial banana smell is the exact same smell
Angie's Weekly Weird
as
Fact.
warning pheromone. So if you are ever near a beehive and you smell like, that artificial banana,
Yeah.
run,
Run away.
run away,
Run away.
run away now, because they are actually producing that as a warning that it's time to go sting somebody in the tushy, and it might very well be you. So get out of Dodge. But the coolest thing was that they know in the egg if it's going to be a male or a female.
Mm-hmm.
It's a bee, man. It's a bee. And the bee's like, oh, that's a little girl baby, and that's a boy. It's an egg.
They'll actually, and if you found different, tell me if I'm wrong, but I want to say they actually give the royal jelly to more than one female larva, and they see how they're doing, and then they'll kill one of them because you can only have one queen.
I have heard there's different types and different areas, and generally the ones in North America, from what I read, do not.
Okay, but some do. I wasn't crazy.
Apparently, European bees are very bloodthirsty, and it's a thing.
They choose violence.
They do.
That's okay.
So okay, but so they say, okay, this little girl bee, she's gonna have this, and then they coat her stuff in this stuff, and this royal jelly. She becomes the queen bee, who is then responsible for taking over the entire production of the next generation, which I thought was pretty cool. And the flying at 25 miles an hour thing, dude, that's kind of crazy.
Okay, so we will be back next week with part 2. Hopefully Denise will be here.
Oh, somebody said, she sent Chris pics of a doodle done with kitchen shears, 10-year mobile groomer. I almost died watching it happen. Yes, these are simply because this is my office. I don't have.
When did you send that?
These are for cutting paper. I would never trim down with these. Oh my God. No.
Send that to me again, because I just need more cringe in my life.
Oh, it was Daria.
Oh, Daria send that. Okay, I do remember. I remember that now. Jesus. That was
okay, so on that note, we will see everybody next week.
Now that I'm